You're standing under harsh fluorescent lights. Plastic bins slide forward with a dull scrape. Shoes off, jacket folded. Your carry-on disappears into the X-ray tunnel. Then it's your phone's turn. You place it in the tray, screen facing up. It doesn't come back right away. A TSA officer picks it up. Not aggressively, not suspiciously, just a second longer than expected. The screen lights up. A notification appears. No one says a word, but you feel it. That quiet shift in attention. And suddenly, you're no longer just a passenger. Here's the uncomfortable truth most travelers don't realize. TSA doesn't need to search your phone, because many people unknowingly invite them to look. And before this video ends, you'll know exactly which 5 things on your phone quietly turn routine screening into a problem. For years, you've heard the same reassurance. TSA is not law enforcement. They can't search your phone. And technically, that's true. But airports don't operate on technicalities alone. They operate on behavior, risk signals, and context. Security today isn't just about what's inside your bag. It's about how you move, how you respond, and what appears without anyone asking. Phones change the equation. Your boarding pass lives there, your travel plans, your work messages, your photos, your notifications. And unlike a suitcase, a phone doesn't stay closed unless you deliberately keep it that way. At the checkpoint, TSA officers are trained to observe inconsistencies, not to dig through data, but to notice what doesn't align. A notification that flashes, an app left open, a reaction that feels rushed or defensive. You don't have to be doing anything wrong, but in a system designed to flag uncertainty, extra information, shown at the wrong moment, becomes a reason to slow everything down. And that's why travelers who've flown safely for decades are suddenly finding themselves pulled aside, confused, and wondering what changed. So, what exactly is TSA noticing? Let's break it down. Let's clear up the biggest misunderstanding first. TSA officers are not scrolling through your messages. They are not opening your photo gallery. They are not reading your emails. What they're trained to observe is far more subtle and far more common. They see what appears without permission. A lock screen that lights up with previews. A phone that's already unlocked when it's placed in the bin. An app frozen mid-use because you were rushing. That's the difference. When your phone screen turns on at the checkpoint, it becomes part of the screening environment, just like your shoes or your jacket. And TSA doesn't need to touch your data to notice mismatches. A boarding pass notification for a different city than the flight you're boarding. A work message that contradicts the purpose of your trip. A payment alert that raises questions about timing or destination. None of these are illegal. None of them are violations. But together, they create uncertainty. And uncertainty is exactly what security systems are designed to slow down. Here's the quiet part most travelers miss. TSA already has baseline expectations before they ever look up at you. They're not searching for secrets, they're checking alignment. And when what they see doesn't align, even briefly, the process changes. So if that's what TSA notices first, the next question becomes obvious. What, exactly, on your phone, is most likely to cause that mismatch? None of these items are illegal. That's what makes them dangerous. They don't get you in trouble because they exist. They get you in trouble because they appear at the wrong moment. Here are the 5 most common ones. First, old boarding passes and expired tickets. Screenshots from past trips, canceled flights, or standby bookings often resurface as notifications. When a screen lights up showing a different destination than the one you're boarding, it creates confusion, even if there's a simple explanation. Second, work-related messages or contracts. Texts about short-term jobs, consulting, or starting next week can contradict what you verbally stated about your trip. A single preview can turn a routine screening into follow-up questions. Third, photos of equipment, tools, or devices. Power banks, drones, batteries, or gear you're not carrying today, but photographed recently, can trigger concern if they flash on screen without context. Fourth, financial app notifications. Large transfers, crypto alerts, or payment confirmations don't violate rules, but appearing suddenly, they introduce uncertainty TSA doesn't need to resolve quickly. Fifth, documents opened at the wrong time. Visa PDFs, invitation letters, legal forms, perfectly normal to have. But if they're already open when the phone wakes up, They invite questions you weren't prepared to answer. The key point is this: TSA doesn't interpret content the way you do. They interpret timing, alignment, and reaction. And that brings us to the part almost no one talks about. Because sometimes, TSA doesn't even need to look at your screen at all. Most travelers never realize the moment it happens. No one asks for your phone. No one demands your password. And yet, access is given. It happens in three small, familiar ways. First, placing your phone unlocked in the bin. You're rushing. Shoes off, belt out. Your screen is still on from your boarding pass or app check. From that moment on, anything that appears isn't private, it's visible. Second, unlocking your phone too quickly when asked. A simple request like, "Is this your device?" feels harmless. So you wake the screen, you swipe, and in doing so, notifications, previews, and apps surface on their own. Third, explaining instead of answering. When something unexpected appears, many travelers instinctively say, "Let me show you," or "That's from another trip." That's the mistake. Explanations invite attention. Demonstrations invite observation. And TSA officers don't need to argue with you. They simply slow the process down. Here's the uncomfortable truth. TSA doesn't expand their authority. You expand their visibility, not through wrongdoing, but through reflex. And once that visibility exists, you can't take it back. So what happens next? This is where preparation makes the difference between a 30-second delay and a long walk to secondary screening. Two passengers stand in the same TSA line, same airport, same flight, same destination. One places their phone in the bin, screen dark, notifications silent. They answer questions briefly, calmly. Their belongings come through, untouched. They're gone in seconds. The other passenger isn't doing anything wrong, but their phone lights up. A message appears. They react, explaining, gesturing, filling the silence. And suddenly, time stretches. They're asked to step aside. A supervisor arrives, shoes go back off, bags open again. Nothing illegal is found. Nothing dramatic happens. But the cost is real. Missed boarding announcements, stress that follows you onto the plane, connections tightened or lost, that lingering feeling of being watched, even when you did nothing wrong. This isn't about guilt. It's about control of information. Airports don't punish mistakes. They respond to uncertainty. And travelers who don't manage what appears and when unintentionally create more of it. The good news is this: uncertainty is preventable. And in the next part, you'll see how a few quiet adjustments can change everything. Preparation doesn't mean fear. It means reducing friction before it appears. Start with your phone. Before you leave home, turn on focus or airplane notification mode. Disable lock screen previews. Close financial, work, and travel apps completely. Don't just minimize them. Use a neutral lock screen. No messages, no alerts, no context. At the checkpoint, place your phone in the bin screen, down and locked. If you're asked a question, answer it. Don't narrate your life. Short answers reduce attention. Calm pauses reduce suspicion. For older travelers, this matters even more. You're often assumed to be cooperative, which means you're more likely to unlock without hesitation. Instead, take a breath. Ask for clarification if needed. There's no rule requiring you to rush your response. Looking ahead, screening will rely less on searches and more on behavioral alignment. Technology won't need access to your data, only signals. Those who understand this won't feel anxious. They'll feel prepared, because the goal isn't to hide, it's to control timing. TSA doesn't need to invade your privacy to slow you down. Most of the time, travelers give information away, quietly, unintentionally, and at the worst possible moment. Understanding the process turns you from a passive subject into a prepared traveler, not by arguing, not by hiding, but by controlling what appears and when. If this helped you, share it with someone who flies often. Leave a comment with what surprised you most. And subscribe, because the quiet rules are changing whether they tell you or not. Or,